Yo, what's going on everybody? It's your boy Naruto Explain here, bringing you guys another Boruto 2 Blue Vortex discussion. Today I want to crack open a bottle and I want to raise a controversial point after the end of the last manga chapter, which is that we just saw Sage Mode Mitsuki mix it up with Boruto and we got the chance to see the extended Mitsuki's growth. There has been a secondary bubbling up of a question after so much focus is placed on the fact that Boruto and 2 Blue Vortex has been taking the whole can he beat Jigen question and making it a meme for scaling purposes, with us seeing multiple characters being relative or stronger than Jigen. But now that we're 8 chapters deep, a lot of fans have fully grasped what this means, which is if we're saying can someone beat Jigen, then we're also saying, hey, can they beat Naruto? And after Mitsuki versus Boruto, that chatter has started to pop up, and the thought did cross my mind when I was reading the chapter itself. From the moment that Ishiki died and Amato just casually mentioned that there were several humans he made into cyborgs who had combat power that greatly exceeded Jigen, it became clear that if we were indeed approaching the time skip, which in hindsight we were, that the story was going to be in that funky space where the characters were going to be stronger than Jigen, but they're going to be weaker than Ishiki. And as we got closer to the time skip and we're meeting characters like Ada and Damon, and we saw Code get his limiters removed, we started getting statements about this entire phenomenon that we're having set up. You had Damon openly mocking Code, casually saying the quiet part out loud, saying, yeah, you're clearly stronger than Jigen, which means the Hokage, i.e. Naruto, and the Uchiha, i.e. Sasuke, they stand no chance against you, but it doesn't matter who is in second or third place because I am the strongest. Then we had Shikamaru again spoon-feed it to us as an audience that Code without limiters was stronger than Jigen but weaker than Ishiki, which was enough that Shikamaru, Naruto, and Sasuke, they viewed it as, well, it was bad news. It wasn't an impossible situation to overcome, not like it would have been if, say, Code were stronger than Ishiki, because there is a massive gap in power between Jigen and Ishiki. Just as Super Saiyan for a long period of time was used as the floor to test the power level of villains in Dragon Ball post Namek Saga, which rest in peace Akira Toriyama, whose death was announced last week. Without Toriyama, there would be no Naruto, and by extension, there would be no Boruto. But I think we're seeing a similar thing play out here when it comes to Jigen, which in hindsight, it does explain why we saw Jigen with multiple fights in Boruto Part 1. There is clearly a conscious decision for us to get a taste of what Jigen could do power-wise, which means he was always intended to be the floor for future characters. We saw Jigen mixed up with Naruto, briefly outside his house, with Jigen merely only using the basic Kurama Seal amp and holding ground with 6-pass Chakra Mode Naruto, albeit Naruto was holding back, like Kurama said, because they're fighting in the village in Naruto's literal backyard, and Kurama was warning Naruto that he couldn't afford to fight Jigen without going full power. A sign that just in that short exchange, Kurama knew that this was going to be a long fight. Then when Naruto and Sasuke were inside of Ishiki's dimension, we saw 3 fighters continue to feel each other out, with Naruto and Sasuke using more force than before, and they're holding a slight edge against Jigen when they fought together, and to their credit, they almost beat the basic Kurama Seal amp Jigen. However, once Jigen fully transformed, used the true essence of Kurama, it quickly became clear that there are greater levels of power that Naruto and Sasuke they didn't qualify for. Power levels were a credit score. Naruto and Sasuke were not in the 800 club, they were somewhere in the mid 700s. Jigen was breaking the perfect Susanoo with the kick, shattering the Kurama avatar with the uppercut, and knocking the sonic rings out of Naruto and Sasuke like it was nothing. We even got to see what Jigen at 10% of his power could do in a battle with Kashin Koji, where Kashin Koji held a clear edge over Jigen at only 10% power during the course of their fight, and Kashin Koji didn't even need to use Sage Mode until Ishiki was resurrected. The narrative went out the way to show us that many fights with Jigen for a very clear reason, which brings us to Boruto versus Mitsuki and the question of whether or not Mitsuki has surpassed Naruto. Boruto was clearly in control of that fight with Mitsuki, and the guy was playing defense for a majority of the fight, but only because he wasn't trying to harm Mitsuki, despite his words that he was gonna have to, quote, get rough with him. Mitsuki did all he could to take down Boruto, and there's some stuff that you could take to interpret to say that Sage Mode Mitsuki and Kawaki, they might not have that huge of a power gap between them. Again, if you want to be a little disingenuous, but that's neither here nor there. But Boruto versus Mitsuki gave us a nugget to sink our teeth into for the Mitsuki debate that hasn't been discussed enough, in my opinion. I don't think we can say with certainty that Mitsuki scales over Jigen. I don't think anybody says that, but I do think we need to have a serious conversation about Naruto, and here's why I say that. There's a reason that Mitsuki busting out Sage Mode shadow clones instantaneously shocked Boruto when he's seen it, because that's something that Naruto without Kurama was never able to do. When he had Kurama working in tandem with them, we saw Naruto bust out Sage Mode shadow clones like it was nobody's business. Against Kaguya, he was armed with Hagoromo's chakra seal, and he was busting out 6-pass shadow clones like it was crazy. The anime version of Naruto vs Sasuke, which took place after they lost their chakra seals when they took down Kaguya, we saw Naruto making 6-pass shadow clones in that fight, but again, he had Kurama with him. However, in the Jigen battle, we saw Naruto bust out clones yet again simultaneously, with the anime showing us 1,000 of those clones for a couple of minutes before Jigen took them down with the grace of a ballerina dancer. When he lost Kurama, however, Naruto, while he did say that he gotten better at using Sage Mode and he can stay in Sage Mode much longer than before, one thing that it should be worth noting is that he was shown needing to focus extremely hard while sitting with his clones as he was going into Sage Mode, with the clones in the pose that Naruto uses to gather nature energy. So we saw him using clones for nature energy gathering purposes, but none of the other clones had the sage pigmentation beneath their eyebrows. We never saw Naruto, even in that moment where he was desperately searching for his son, we never saw him produce shadow clones that had Sage Mode instantaneously. However, with Mitsuki, when he fought Boruto, he produced shadow clones that were already in Sage Mode, which is nuts, and it speaks volumes to how much he's improved during the 3 years of training, likely alongside Kawaki, to grow stronger. We hadn't seen Mitsuki use shadow clones with Sage Mode prior to this, and here we have Mitsuki using clones and using them for a pretty decent amount of time. Granted, Boruto has taken them out very quickly, which that in of itself is expected just given how shadow clones work, since chakra is being split evenly amongst the clones. But Mitsuki's skill with Sage Mode here is pretty damn impressive. Had he been fighting someone other than Boruto, Mitsuki would have actually secured the W here with that tactic, if we're being honest, because it combined the element of surprise by using the snakes to serve as a distraction for shadow clones. And when I first saw this, I thought maybe Mitsuki was just using a mere clone and not a shadow clone, since clones are basic jutsu expected of academy students, and clones don't have a physical body. They're based in yin energy, i.e. mental energy, whereas shadow clones are based in yang chakra, i.e. physical energy, and they're tangible. Yet Boruto tells us specifically these are shadow clones, and he proceeds to start going into battle with them. Now, we can't say with certainty that he's passed or even reached Jigen in power, because we did see Boruto holding back here, but that's been part of the course of Boruto ever since he's returned from the time skip and he started to flex on everybody like it was a hobby. With only a few moves, the guy removed what was left of Code's aura, and he outright made Kawaki look worse than a sneaky link who is texting you on your phone when you're sitting there with your main girl. Boruto basically left Kawaki on red, saying, "You're not important to me right now, and I'll deal with you later after I deal with Code and after I deal with the Ten-Tailed." It was only the battle with the Shinju where it looked like Boruto might have been in trouble, and that was still Boruto only fighting in his base, never using the Karma Seal. He was caught off guard, fighting more enemies than he ever expected, and he was in a handicap with these enemies who had much lower win conditions than Boruto. Whereas he would need to outright destroy them, all they needed to do was restrain or slow him down long enough to bite him. It was a losing situation for Boruto, where the best option was to run away, which is what Kashin Koji instructed him to do. I say that to say Mitsuki isn't in bad company here. Everyone looks like they're a tier below Boruto, and we have enough here to begin a conversation on where Mitsuki is in terms of his power. Look, that fight did give us something to talk about when it comes to Naruto without Kurama and Mitsuki being able to go past Naruto without Kurama, potentially using that version of Naruto as a floor for Mitsuki's power. which again, that's no disrespect to Naruto without Kurama. It's actually something of a compliment because Naruto without Kurama, he's still very incredibly strong. Stronger than he's given credit for, if we're being honest here, because there's enough information to chart out where Naruto is. When you factor in the decision that Kishimoto made back in 2016 to purposely change the way the power was expressed in Boruto fights, shifting from DC-based approach to a more AP-based approach, which is something that Ikimoto would tell us again in 2017 when he says that he specifically references Dragon Ball as guides when he's drawing fights for that specific reason, because of how Toriyama expressed power. Not every ki blast by a Super Saiyan blew up the planet. Not every punch that had shockwaves that should have destroyed mountain ranges did so. Despite the fact that going by in-universe using the information that the guidebooks give us for Dragon Ball, those characters were millions of times stronger than what was required to even do those things. Toriyama was a master expressing power without having to rely overly on destructive capability. However, to see why Mitsuki's floor being at the level of Naruto without Kurama, you'll want to check out this video on the screen that breaks down Naruto's full power without Kurama, which I definitely think you'll enjoy.